You may be wondering, what support hero should you pick up next in Overwatch? You could be trying to learn the support role or just expand your hero pool altogether. In this video, we're going to be breaking down every support hero in Overwatch on how difficult they are to learn and master, on a scale from 1 being the easiest to 10 being the most difficult. And we're going to give you several tips on how to instantly improve on that hero and what you need to do in order to gain that sweet SR. With the next chapter of Overwatch well on its way, you need to be prepared for the multitude of changes that are soon coming to your favorite game. GameLeap.com is the only place that will have the newest and most up-to-date content handcrafted by GM players to ensure that you have the best quality content available. We'll be making updated in-depth guides over every character, map, and mode to ensure that you're ready for any new changes coming to Overwatch. That's so much jam-packed value, and for the next 5 days, get your annual subscription at 50% off. Don't miss out on this amazing bargain. See you on GameLeap. We're going to kick it off with C3PO himself, Zen, at a respectable 8. Because of his lack of movement, he can be easily punished based on positioning he takes. Also, a lot of his power level is in his primary fire, which is really hard to hit. And if you can't hit his primary fire consistently, you're not going to be able to have that much impact on Zen. This puts mechanical skill on Zen to the forefront, meaning that he's much harder to play than some of the other supports on the list. Some tips we have for you when trying to learn and master Zen is make sure that you're calling out your discords on targets and having the team focus that same target. Many Zens in ranked simply don't say a word, and while not everyone likes to communicate, if you're playing Zen, communication can make you that much more lethal. Calling out every single time your discord is on a target and making sure the whole team focuses that target means that that target will die much faster and you can move on to the next target, securing pick after pick. The next thing that I would suggest you do is play Zen in stuff like tryhard free-for-all. Genjis, Tracers, Hanzos. There are so many lethal things in tryhard free-for-all, but I see time and time again really high-level Zens dominating, even in tryhard free-for-all against DPSs. Zen has the capability to out-skill and out-frag many of the DPSs on the roster, and if you tap into a fraction of that mechanical skill, you can easily pop off in your ranked matches, get picks, and secure team fights on Zen. Moving along to the next opponent on our list, Baptiste is a decent 5. Baptiste's primary heroes are pretty easy to hit because of their splash damage. On top of this, Baptiste's ability, Regenerative Burst, is an aura effect that doesn't require any mechanical skill to execute as long as you stand near your teammates. Also, Baptiste is very forgiving in the fact that his exo boots allow him very strong vertical mobility. That being said, Baptiste's primary fire actually does quite a bit of damage. His 3-round burst, especially coupled with his amplification matrix, can set up for some really insane carry plays. The best tips we have for you in order to pick up Baptiste and be well on your way to mastering him is make sure that you really understand the value that Immortality Field can provide. Immortality Field can often trade for ultimates if timed correctly. Take these simple tips into account. When the enemy team is really aggressing you, don't initially throw Immortality Field until the enemy team has already used resources such as abilities or ammo into your team. Using Immortality at the last possible second while still saving your teammates can allow you to get the most value out of it. If the enemy team already commits resources, such as shield health or player health, or specifically abilities, such as Tracer Blinks or Helix Rockets, and they invest all these abilities already, if you throw the Baptiste Immortality Field out, then they won't have those resources in order to focus down the Immortality Field that quickly. By waiting for the enemy to commit a lot of these abilities, it makes it much harder for them to focus the Immortality Field when they need to. To prove my point, I'm sure there's many times that you've played Baptiste in your games where you threw down an Immortality Field and it immediately got killed and focused down. That's because the Hanzo still had Storm Arrow, the soldiers still had Helix Rocket, all their characters still had ammo. The amount of value your Immortality Field gets grows exponentially as long as you wait for the enemy team to use resources and engage your team and catch them by surprise with your Immortality Field. Moving along to another one on our list, Brig is a minuscule 2. Brig is pretty easy to pick up and learn. She doesn't require that much mechanical skills. However, she does excel if you have high game knowledge. Brig is the goddess of peeling, and she could easily bail out fellow DPS or supports from getting pushed up on. Her stun allows her to make some really interesting plays, such as stunning a Lucio beat or stopping a Roadhog from using Take a Breather. An important thing to think about right now with Brig is because of her new shield, a lot of Brigs are playing her still hyper aggressively like they used to be able to. Keep in mind that at 200 health, that thing is not that strong, and many players need to be playing around natural cover far more often. Some of the biggest tips that we have for you on Brig is try to save either stun or flail to stop cooldowns and use them to interrupt them. Moving along to the next hero on our list, we got Ana with a whopping 10. Ana might not just be the most difficult support to master in this game, she might be the most difficult character to master in this game by far. There's many types of things you need to learn and master when playing Ana. Firstly, she has very low mobility, so positioning is a must. Poor positioning can get you easily pressured and killed. Also, her primary fire is both projectile and hit scan, depending on whether or not you're aiming down the sight, and both her sleep and nade are both projectile shots as well. Each one of the projectile shots operate in a different way, so you have to learn each of their timings and practice them individually. On top of that, you have to often flip between two different types of aiming, between hit scan and projectile on a fly, while still having good positioning and making key plays. Essentially, Ana has all these tools, but they're very hard to access, and someone who's insane at Overwatch can easily hard carry games as Ana. The most important tips that we have for her right now is you really need to learn how to balance using those abilities aggressively, because Ana has some of the most offensive abilities in the game. You can decide when to make plays as Ana or simply heal. Ana has all the power in order to completely dictate a fight. With nades, sleeps, and burst heal from very long distances away, Ana has the capability to do many other players' jobs in a single team fight. Putting in the time and effort into mastering Ana will definitely pay off for you in dividends. Moving along to the opposite end of the spectrum, Mora is a 1. Mora is extremely easy to learn, easy to master, and very forgiving. She takes very little mechanical skill. In fact, you don't even have to aim. Her primary damage dealing fire and her heal has a spread that makes it very easy to hit. Furthermore, it's hard to punish for Mora for just about anything. She has a fade ability that allows her to escape danger, and it's on a very low cooldown. While Mora doesn't have high levels of utility like Ana, she does have tons of burst heals and she can do decent damage as well. Essentially, her ease of use, lack of mechanical skill, combined with her inability to get punished for a lot of positional mistakes, make Mora one of the easiest heroes to pick up and play in the whole game. The biggest tip that we have for you when playing Mora is understand your heal management. Far too often Moras really just use up all their heal and they won't have any to heal up the team when they really need it. Keep in mind that just a single tap of her primary healing heals 65 over the course of 4 seconds, so you don't really need to spam it onto people if you're just healing them up when they're not actively taking damage. The next healer on our list is the waifu medic herself, Mercy. Mercy comes in at a pretty solid 4. While Mercy is pretty easy to learn, Mercy has many mechanical nuances to master her gameplay. Animation cancels and specific interactions with Guardian Angel. There are many things to learn with Mercy if you really want to master her. On top of this, she can't really defend herself in the traditional sense, unlike almost every character in the game. Rather than traditional mechanics, it's all mechanical nuance and game sense. Great Mercies identify just who they need to enable. Mercy's damage boost is one of the strongest abilities in the game, and the ability for Mercy to pocket who she needs to at any given situation allows her to be a very strong support character. Essentially, adding the right amount of resources into somebody at the right time might not only double their impact, but might triple or quadruple it. Let me give you this example. Pocketing a McCree at the proper time when he's up against a Pharah might allow that McCree to actually win that fight. Maybe alone or even with small amounts of healing, he wouldn't be able to do it. However, pocketing him for the time frame he needs to contest the Pharah can be the difference between winning or losing a whole team fight. The biggest tip we have for you on Mercy is make sure that you damage boost something whenever you can. This is the most egregious mistake that many Mercy players make. Healing should not be her primary focus, especially when you have another huge healing source such as a Mora or an Ana on your team. Damage boosting is where Mercy really shines, because enabling someone to do more damage can really alter the breakpoints in interesting ways. For example, a damage boosted Widowmaker can body shot a Tracer. On top of this, maybe the 3 or 4 shots that it would have took the McCree to kill the Pharah is now 2 instead. Changing these breakpoints can have massive impacts on whether or not your DPS can get a pick at all, or they're simply outclassed and they die before they can get any value. Last but certainly not least, the groovy man himself, Lucio, comes in at a pretty respectable 7. While Lucio's skill floor is pretty low, in order to master Lucio, you need to perfect a lot of different things, including wall climbing, movement, and game sense. Lucio has high mechanics and has a lot of ability to make plays. I see many Lucios practice and try out free-for-all and honestly win the duel against a lot of DPSs. Not only that, but mastering beat timing is something extremely important on Lucio, as especially at low ranks, there are many times where a Lucio simply doesn't beat when he needs to in order to win the fight, and you end up losing it without investing beat, or you invest it too late and people have already died. The most important thing that you need to understand when trying to pick up and master Lucio is that in ranked at least, Lucio is someone of two sides. There are two different types of playstyles that Lucio can adopt that you need to know exactly when to whip them out. Lucio can actually DPS and get insane value by contesting a Hanzo or a Widow on the high ground when no one else can. Shutting down that source of damage and actually getting a pick on them can really win definitive teamfights, and many Lucios, including some that have taken up top 5 spots, have adopted this playstyle. That being said, you need to understand when your role is actually to peel. If you have a Doomfist, a Tracer, or a Genji that is constantly diving your solo Ana and you're not there to peel for her, it doesn't matter how much work you get done as a DPS. If that Ana dies, her value becomes 0, and often your tanks will suffer because you don't have enough heals to keep them up. You need to really identify when it's your job to go and DPS something and you can get value from that, or it's your job to peel and make sure that you keep your team alive. Lucio is one of the best peelers in the game, so do not neglect that simple aspect of his playstyle. Anyways, I hope this guide has been extremely fun for you. It's been fun for me to make. The tank one is coming up next. Agree or disagree, please leave it in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. BlizzCon's so close, not very far away at all. Tell me what you want to see at BlizzCon in the comments down below. Anyways, I'm Coach Mills, and until next time. With the next chapter of Overwatch well on its way, you need to be prepared for the multitude of changes that are soon coming to your favorite game. GameLeap.com is the only place that will have the newest and most up-to-date content handcrafted by GM players to ensure that you have the best quality content available. We'll be making updated, in-depth guides over every character, map, and mode to ensure that you're ready for any new changes coming to Overwatch. That's so much jam-packed value, and for the next 5 days, get your annual subscription at 50% off. What I need you to do right now is click here to get your membership so you don't miss out on this amazing bargain. See you on GameLeap.